Good afternoon. We're convening the Senate Committee on Transportation on our 3 p.m. agenda. We're here in State Capitol Conference Room 224, as well as online. We do have a number of bills on the agenda this afternoon, so we will ask folks to limit your comments to 2 minutes, and if we go beyond that, we'll ask you to summarize to make sure we have time to hear from everybody and to give the committee members opportunity to ask questions. That said, up first this afternoon is HB 1761 HD1 relating to identification cards. This authorizes the issuance of limited purpose ID cards for certain residents. And testifying first this afternoon is the Department of Transportation. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Lee, Vice Chair Inoue, and honorable members of the Transportation Committee, Jade Butai for DOT. We stand on our submitted written testimony in support with recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have testimony in support from the Hawaii Office of Community Services, Hawaii Department of Public Safety, Common Cause Hawaii in support, or excuse me, with comments. Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights. Good afternoon.
I think Dr. Hawai'i also has money for friends, but
We'll get right to her.
Liza Ryan Gill with the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights. Hello, chairs and members of the committee. We are testifying in support of this bill, especially in relationship to the fact that Real ID is being implemented in the state. In addition to the issue, like this morning when I needed to show my ID along with my vaccination records, we work with a lot of folks that are limited English proficient who are in the process of adjusting their status and may not have the right type of documentation to get a real ID. We don't have another option for them right now. We have a limited purpose driver's license. Again, not everyone is eligible or wanting to drive. And also with the issue of needing to come to Oahu to have their biometrics done with USCIS, this is a real challenge for people to adjust their status. There are others that will speak to formerly incarcerated people and the need for a limited type of ID, but we stand in strong support. We believe that everybody needs to have some type of ID, especially in an island state. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Up next, Ms. Agbayani, were you also testifying on behalf of?
Yes, thank
Please
you.
Go ahead.
Aloha, thank you. My name's Amy Agbayani for Hawaii Friends of Civil Rights. We strongly support this measure. It's very useful to have appropriate IDs for everybody. It will benefit many people, including government. So we strongly support it, and I stand by my written testimony.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have the Community Alliance on Prisons in support, Legal Clinic in support, Parents and Children Together in support, and additional support from 3 individuals and 1 in opposition. It does say we have potentially 2 people here with us on Zoom. Robert Merce. Oh, and it looks like you were the other one registered, right? Okay. Is there anyone online that we missed who'd wish to testify in this measure? Right. If not, are there any questions?
Do we have Attorney General here?
I don't believe we have the Attorney General.
Maybe, okay, Chair, just a question, and I'm not sure if many of you have received this email that I received from a resident, and it was like a couple of days ago. And the issue, so 1 second now. Now this measure and this Real ID does just makes changes, right? Or adds additional persons to have the ID. Well, let me explain. And so this person wrote and said he is a full-time California resident. I'm sorry, part-time. And part of the time he lives on Big Island in Kona. And so he has a driver's license and doesn't anymore. Okay, so when he comes to Hawai'i Island and he needs an ID, according to him, he says that the Real ID is only for those that are not instability, but for those that are unable to health-wise to get an ID, or will allow you to get another a real ID for purposes of identification. And so he says the current law doesn't, I can't get a real ID for Hawaii as a resident. So I'm just wondering if anybody knows what the real purpose is. Now, interestingly, I was involved in the original federal 2004 Real ID that the government started, and we lobbied on behalf of NCSL. I had to communicate with Senator Akaka to make changes that we didn't want that implemented because it had a lot of unintended consequences. So having said that, and having done our Real ID program here with the exemptions, I'm just wondering if we're still limited to others having the Real ID. And so I know we did, 2 years ago, I did an amendment so that this woman would be able to work on her husband after he died. She didn't have a Real ID. She was sort of unable, she had health problems. She couldn't get out of bed. And matter of fact, she was a university doctor anyway, but for health-wise, so we changed the law so that she was able to get an ID to take care of her husband's death and get all the records going as well. So I'm wondering if we should go beyond helping others in this measure. So anybody who knows about Real ID.
Maybe DOT, if, are you still with us?
Chair, thank you for the question. If you don't mind, I know Ed Snippen is also on the call, so can you unmute him?
Yeah, it seems like oftentimes we're changing the Real ID, to accommodate our people in different levels. So perhaps we should make sure that most of everyone is covered. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Senator, how are you?
Okay. So the
Yeah,
question
so
is,
listening in on the conversation, please go ahead.
well, this has a replacement of those that don't drive, right?
Yes.
Okay. And having an ID. So are those that are living here part-time, have homes here, they're not qualified according to our law is what they're saying. They can't get a Hawaii ID.
On Real ID, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct. So Real ID, you can only have one issued from a state, and you can have more than one Real ID. That's correct.
Okay, then.
So they would have to use their California Real ID to travel in between if they're getting on a flight. So that's what that would be. But they could potentially have a limited purpose ID for.
And I know, like, if one doesn't have a Hawaii ID, and even for those who live here part-time, pay taxes, real property tax if they have a second home, do you know that they even don't qualify as a kabaina? When they go out and there's special purposes, there's special sales on something, or you're on the golf course, you can't have they won't accept.
Yeah, I think our intention is formally incorporated without.
Did you want
Can you
to join
come up?
us?
So join us so everyone can hear you.
If you could just say your name for the record again.
Sorry, Liza Ryan Gill with Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights. And I, Sandy is testifying in the same measure above us, otherwise she would be here as well for Common Cause. I think the issue that we're trying to get at is that everybody needs an ID, right? You just can't exist, even as a kid, 5 years and above to get into this building, you would need some type of school ID. Not every kid goes to school, or, maybe they're homeschooled. And so there needs to be some way that folks can access a type of ID, especially if they don't have access to a lot of their paperwork. And we work specifically with immigrant populations, so they may not have paperwork due to a lot of different things, being refugees, all kinds of issues. But so I think that's the intent of this bill, is people need an ID.
Yeah.
They need it. The barrier to entry for a real ID is very high. And so making some kind of space there that at a lower level so that people can show and verify who they are, show their vaccination card, or for whatever other purpose that they have. And that's our intention. Does that answer your question, Senator?
Yeah, for this, I'm just
I have a
wondering.
follow-up question to that.
Yeah,
Go
You
ahead.
know, I have a similar, a constituent, he was trying to get a non-compliant ID. Because he's a firefighter in California, but he lives part-time in Hawaii, and I'm trying to understand exactly the situation, but
you know what,
He
I
was
think that's the
saying-
one that
it's the
sent it
same
to
one.
me too.
Yeah.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah,
I was
so
trying
I-
to find it. Read
I
it
think
then.
that's the problem. I'm trying to, so he, I guess it's really holding him back, not to really get a non-compliant
Yeah.
ID. And so is there some way this bill could be amended to help him?
I mean, sure, I would have to really understand what the situation that he's in at this moment in. It's certainly with discussing.
Yeah,
I apologize, I'm not the expert on this,
I
but
think I had a similar
yeah.
question in one of our. one of our constituents.
have any.
Further questions? If not, I've got just a couple while you're,
Sure.
since you're here. There are several testifiers, maybe perhaps including your organization, had asked that for those getting out of prison,
Yeah,
where they don't have access to all the other documentation, but do have government issued prison ID cards and other such things, making those an eligible document to be used for the purposes of application.
Yeah.
Is that?
yeah,
am
I believe,
understanding that right?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay.
Because and that's been something that's been worked on or that we've been trying to implement, or those folks have been trying to implement some type of ID within the prison system for a long time, and it just hasn't happened. It's been a couple of years. So we're trying not to make duplicative work on that side.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Senator.
So I think the intent of the bill is really to get just IDs for people that don't have the IDs. Yeah. What I do know is that I have a lot of people that come in from the mainland.
Mm.
You have an ID, you can use your ID. Whether you're here as a 6-month resident or whatever, what's happening was a duplication of the IDs, which I think this bill hits what you're trying to get your point across.
Yeah.
Those that were coming in wanted the second ID for said Kama'aina rates and discounts and everything else. As of now, they can use that, whether it be on California ID or Washington ID, it's just for identification purpose. We're trying to be on specific
Yeah.
situation, right? It's just that we're gonna give an ID, we can now identify. people.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think that there, it's up to the committee whether or not there's some bar of residency there, whether you feel like people need to be here for a certain amount of time for that to be, if somebody lives here 2 months out of the year, or you come, I don't know, I'm not gonna answer that question.
I think as of now, DMV requires you to give it up.
Yeah.
You give it up and then you can have a Hawaii ID. If not, you cannot.
Mhm.
It's just the idea to get an ID.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
appreciate it.
Any further questions on this measure? If not, real quick, DOT, well, I guess Ed, if you're still there, just to the point that I was asking about earlier, using the state issued prison documents and that sort of thing as a qualifier, does that work for you guys?
Absolutely, absolutely support that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Good discussion on this measure. Let's move on
Can I
to,
ask a question
oh,
though?
go ahead.
Ed, come back. And certainly, when you issue or something like this, and in statute, it has to be plain and clear that there's a purpose, but you also have identification or some proof that you certainly are a part-time resident. If you're like 6 months, you're paying real property tax. Or, some guarantee, because, as noted, they are pretty much flaky travelers as well. We know that, we experience that oftentimes. They want to get away with whatever. And I'm just wondering if that was possible.
So from a real ID perspective, it's not. But from a
Okay.
limited purpose perspective, it may be. Now, the only thing I would
And
caution.
I'm talking about those that don't have driver's license yet.
Yes. No, well, yeah. So if they have a real ID that's not a driver's license, they can only have one. So what I would say is, I think the tenet of this bill and what we're trying to advocate for is for legal presence, to make sure that everybody can get an ID first. After that's done, we can start looking at how we can address those that want to be part-time residents here. From my perspective, the difficulty I have is we already have DMVs that are overloaded now. If we allow everybody that has a license in another state to come in and get another license, another limited purpose license here, we may overload the system. I would love to ensure that we get those that need IDs now, those documents, before we start pushing more into the system, if that makes sense.
Okay. Oh, all right. Thank you. Let's move on to the next measure, HB 1411 HD2, relating to registration of vehicles. This measure requires that the transferees and transferor's address be provided on the certificate of ownership when the title to a motor vehicle is transferred, and makes other amendments. And testifying first on 1411 is the County of Kauai. In support. We also have support testimony from County of Maui Department of Environmental Management, Hawaii County Department of Environmental Management, Hawaii Council of Mayors, Hawaii County Council Member Heather Kimball, Maui County Council Member Yukile Sugimura, and Maui MPO, Friends for Puna's Future, and about 10 or so individuals all in support. Doesn't appear to be anybody who's trying to testify live. So with that, unless we missed somebody on Zoom, doesn't sound like we did. We have nobody to ask questions of. So with that, let's move on to the next measure, HB 1414 HD1, relating to abandoned vehicles, which makes a person who is the registered owner of a vehicle that was deemed abandoned or derelict subject to a tiered fine structure. And testifying first on 1414 is the County of Maui Department of Environmental Management. In support. We also have testimony from Hawaii County Department of Environmental Management, Hawaii Council of Mayors, Hawaii State Association of Counties, Council members Heather Kimball from Hawaii, County of Hawaii, and Yukile Sugimura from County of Maui, Maui MPO, Friends for Puna's Future, and again, about 10 individuals or so, all in support. Oh, excuse me, and one with comments. And seeing as we also have nobody who signed to testify in person, we have no one to ask questions of, so let's move on to the next measure, which is HB 2336 HD2, relating to the photo red light imaging detector systems program, which clarifies provisions to better reflect the legislative intent of the photo red light imaging detector systems program, and makes other amendments. And testifying first on 2336 is the Department of Transportation.
Aloha, Chair. We stand on our submitted written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Department of the Prosecuting Attorney, City and County of Honolulu. Good afternoon, Ms. Nakamura.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Deputy Prosecutor Tricia Nakamatsu on behalf of the department.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been that long.
Yeah.
My apologies.
The department is in support of the bill, and we thank you, Chair, for hearing it. The part one of the bill is essentially we feel it's a housekeeping matter, clarifying certain language, making for consistency purposes and so forth to ensure that the legislature's intent is carried forward with the red light pilot program, or red light photo imaging detector systems pilot program. Part two is of particular importance to our department because that would bring the funding that's going to be provided to our department to handle any influx in work. It would just bring it current with the timetable due to COVID and other matters, delays. Things were pushed back significant, a year or more. And so this would just ensure that we're actually covered for the time when the program is going to be in effect. And we're available for questions, if any. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have testimony in support from HPD and testimony in opposition from 2 individuals. I believe that's all the testimony we have. Are there any questions on this measure?
Yes, question for either City and County or Ed. Now, the pilot program, if I understand, when we completed the implementation, Ed, you remember it was a pilot program with only doing it in certain areas on Oahu. So it did, is the intersections as noted are the same, or you added more for the city to apply this pilot program to?
Senator, we started off with identifying 15 locations in the Honolulu district, court district area. With our traffic studies that we're doing right now that we'll finish up this month, we'll identify 10 of them that we'll put the cameras at. The study, this initial study, will only be at those 10 locations for the next 2 years.
Oh, okay, all right. So you guys are, where is this, now it was a state mandate, so what is your role on the city side, managing the system after
So
it's put in?
Trisha's been a tremendous partner. We wanted to make sure that we worked with all of our law enforcement partners, with the prosecutor's office and with the HPD, to ensure that when we roll out this system, we can actually enforce and prosecute on any that violate the law. So Trisha's been working with us throughout to ensure that they will have a prosecutor that's dedicated specifically to this task. Or I'm sorry, time will be dedicated to this task within the Honolulu district, and HPD will help us as well in reviewing the tickets prior to them going out.
Oh, okay, okay, so the state implemented the infrastructure portion and the monitoring and penalty or whatever is under the city.
And the state will be involved as well. What we wanted to do with this pilot is to ensure that we showed it could work. It could be, I mean, it's a successful program, so that we could push for or request this legislative body to push this statewide.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Further questions? If not, real quick for DOT. Ed, thanks. You know, some of the, obviously this has been like the third year maybe or so we've had like red light camera bills. The discussion has kind of evolved over time. One of the things that we've been hearing in the last end of the pandemic, as I think some of the questions were starting to get a little more amplified because the program was moving along from the public, was concern over other jurisdictions that implemented these things and had various problems. One of those was that in some cases ended up in court that the cities or the vendors or whoever it was that was doing stuff had shortened yellow light times to sort of incentivize, you know, more tickets essentially. Is there a provision currently that would prohibit that in the language that has already been put together?
In a way. So what's required of us before we put up any red light camera at any intersection, it requires us to do an engineering study for that intersection to determine first why there could be red light running, see if there's sight distance issues or operational issues at that intersection, and it requires us to fix it first before we start putting up any red light in that area. So it doesn't allow us to shorten up the yellow time frame. It doesn't allow us to do things like that to incentivize potentially giving out more tickets. And in the end, Chair, we really don't want to give out tickets. What we want is to make sure that everybody understands that there's going to be enforcement there 24/7, so you no longer break the law.
If it helps appease the public, would you guys be opposed to us putting a language that basically says, regardless of all that, you know, don't go below a certain whatever might be appropriate?
I think if we can help you with the language, if we put in something that says it should be justified technically or something like that, I'll be happy with that language.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a question with regards
Vice
to
Chair.
that? Yes, to the discussion then on the timing. It may be different though if you have an intersection that's large, you know, and you have intersections if you're going to do a pilot on a shorter intersection. And it comes to mind, I'm trying to think here in Honolulu, where is there a much larger intersection that by the time you get there, zipped along, it's gonna expire or whatever, change lights.
I agree, which is why I want to make sure that the language allows us the flexibility to justify our timeframes with an engineering judgment.
Okay, because each intersection would be different, right?
Could potentially, yes. I mean, look at the
all right.
Wainui, right, on Big Island. If we had a
thank
timeframe
you.
that's set,
All right.
Wainui with the five-way intersection could be difficult.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Senator.
Yes, I mean, the cameras that you guys selecting, the 10 sites you guys are selecting, these are the ones that have the most pedestrian accident or problems with pedestrians getting run over or banged?
The ones that we selected were those that we saw the highest potentials for red light running, either through past ticketing or observations. So not necessarily directed directly to those that had pedestrian crashes, but those that we have the highest potentials for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions on this? If not, I thank you. Let's move on to the next measure, HB 1692, relating to mobile electronic devices, which changes the fines imposed for mobile electronic device violations. And testifying first on 1692 is the Department of Transportation.
Chair, we stand on our submitted written testimony and support. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that's all the testimony we have. So with that, are there any questions? I guess for DOT, just real quick, on this, the level of fines right now in the measure, I think theoretically would probably go up. Those, we'll leave to the Judiciary Committee coming up here to try and set, but the intent generally obviously is to deter. And then where the fines go right now is just into the highway fund, is that right?
That's correct.
For those violations that are occurring in school zones, is there a way to, or is there a separate pot for, like, safe routes to school stuff, basically, to funnel that money into those school zone programs?
Absolutely. So from our perspective, if they go towards any safety program, we're happy with the way the funding goes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions on this measure? If not, let's move on to HB 1681, relating to transportation network companies, which establishes requirements and permitting procedures for TNCs operating in the state and makes permanent insurance requirements. And testifying first on 1681 is the Department of Transportation.
Good afternoon, Chair. We stand on our testimony and support.
Thank you. Up next is the Hawaii Insurance Council.
Good afternoon, Chair Lee, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Allison Uwioka for Hawaii Insurance Council. We support making the insurance section of the bill permanent, section 4 on page 12. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is the Hawaii Transportation Association in opposition, and Uber Technologies. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Senators. Really good to see all of you in person. Bob Toyofuku testifying on behalf of Uber Technologies. I think you've heard many of the statements before. The purpose is to really establish a uniform statewide regulation. The only regulation now exists in the city and county of Honolulu, which was passed in 2016. So Uber has been here for almost 7 to 8 years. And the testimony spells out, and the bill itself, obviously, how Uber operates and the requirements for all of the drivers. As Allison Ueoka said, it makes the insurance law permanent, which we agreed to. And Uber really is looking for some stability. And once, if the legislature passes a uniform statewide regulation, then they feel like it's stabilized and they can do other projects that they may engage in, like Uber Pool and other things like that. So we're okay with the changes that were made in the HD2. The only request that we have is to consider changing the effective date to make it effective upon approval or shortly sometime this year. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Long overdue.
What's that?
How long have you been working on a bill like this?
You know, I worked on it.
Hold on one sec. Let's come back to that question and answer just real quick, and let me run through. We also have testimony and support from Lyft and Geico, and that's all the testimony we have So I believe the first question was, how long have you been working on this?
I first started with Uber in 2015. And in 2016, I had to handle the city and county of Honolulu issue. And somebody else was handling the issue with the legislature on the insurance. And so I think it's been about 5 years
6
that
years,
we've
yeah.
tried to do this. Senator Inouye, when she was chair of the Transportation Committee, we were close last year with Senator Lee. We got really close. And so I hope this year that we have finally have a statewide regulation. But thank you very much.
Where's the Senate bill? What happened to the Senate bill? Do you know?
I believe it's,
What's that?
What happened to the
Senate bill's
bill?
sitting in the House right now, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the Senate bill sitting in the
Still alive.
House. It's and anyway, yeah.
Okay,
So we're just waiting, but this bill is a double referral, so. And it's, so far, we looked at all the changes, Senator, and a lot of them were technical changes. And they looked okay, and I talked to Ed Sniffen at DOT, and he was fine with the changes as well.
Okay.
So thank you.
Any other questions on this measure? If not, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's move on to HB 1403 HD1 relating to an alternate route site selection survey in Puna, which requires the DOT in collaboration with the County of Hawaii to conduct site surveys to identify suitable locations for an alternate route below Highway 130. And testifying first is the Department of Transportation.
Good afternoon again, Chair. We stand on our testimony offering comments. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have comments from the Department of Budget and Finance, DHHL in support, County of Hawaii in support, Ulupono Initiative in support, Keaukaha Farmers in support, Friends of Puna's Future in support, and we have additional support from about a dozen individuals and comments from 2. We didn't have anyone else sign up to testify. Did we miss anybody online? All right, if not, are there any questions? All right, if not, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the next measure, HB 2180 relating to harbors, which repeals sections 266-2.3 and 266-22 HRS for the purpose of deleting obsolete and unnecessary provisions. And up next, testifying for us this afternoon is the Department of Transportation.
Aloha, Chair. We stand on our submitted written testimony in strong support as Kewalo Harbor is no longer under our jurisdiction and the fireboat is no longer in service. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's all the testimony we have. Are there any questions? Yeah, DOT, if you want, we can throw a bunch of other stuff in there if you want to get rid of it. Let us know. Otherwise, let's move on to the last measure, HB 2434, HD1 relating to water carriers, which requires each water carrier to file a strategic plan with the PUC every 5 years. And testifying first is the Department of Agriculture. In support, Hawaii Public Utilities Commission. Good afternoon.
Chair Lee, Vice Chair Inouye, members of the committee, Leo Asuncion, Commissioner with the PUC, will stand on our written testimony and support with comments. Be available for any questions.
Thank you. Up next is Ulupono Initiative in support. Or sorry, they may be with us. Or maybe not. And Young Brothers, good afternoon.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Chris Nakagawa on behalf of Young Brothers. We also will stand on our written testimony with comments available for any questions if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all the testimony we have on 2434. Are there any questions? All right, if not, that is the end of our agenda this afternoon. So why don't we take a quick recess and we'll be right back for decision making. Recess. Good afternoon. We're reconvening the Committee on Transportation here in Senate Conference Room 224 and online for decision-making on our 3 p.m. agenda. Up first this afternoon is HB 1761 HD1 relating to identification cards, which authorizes the issuance of limited purpose ID cards for certain residents. We'd like to move this forward with amendments. So we'd like to first adopt the DOT amendments to have the requirements for these cards match the requirements for limited purpose driver's licenses for continuity and security. Secondly, to just be explicit that if you're holding a real ID document, then you're ineligible for a limited purpose ID. And then thirdly, adding in the amendments from the community lands and prisons and others to make sure that certificates of discharge and prison IDs and other things like that issued can also qualify for applications for this. And then finally, for a common cause, ensuring that folks that normally would be eligible for automatic voter registration through the normal process would also have access to that through this process as well. So any questions or comments on this, Vice Chair?
Is there such a thing as a limited real ID?
Not a limited real ID, but limited purpose ID. Just
Oh,
generally.
limited purpose.
Right.
Okay, so can they, if it's a limited purpose, is there, so then it expires, am I correct? And for some reason or another? And then what happens next?
You'd have to, I guess, get some other form of ID or renew.
Oh, okay.
But you can't have, I think to the conversation you raised earlier, you can't have a real ID plus this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And any other questions, comments? All right, if not, Vice Chair, please take. the
Yes, Chair's recommendation on HB 1761, House Draft 1 is to pass with amendments. Chair Lee?
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Decoy?
Aye.
Senator Shimabukuro?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Moving on to HB 1411 HD2 relating to registration of vehicles, which requires that addresses be provided on certificates of ownership when the title to a motor vehicle is transferred. I just want to thank the counties for their efforts on this. Sounds like recommendation is to move this forward, seeing everyone in support as is. Any discussion? If not, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Chair's recommendation on HB 1411 House Draft 2 is to pass unamended with 5 members present. Are there any reservations? Any nays? Measure is adopted. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 1414 HD1 relating to abandoned vehicles, which makes a person who is the registered owner of that vehicle that was deemed abandoned subject to a tiered fine. I'll just note the tiers for fines and such will leave to the JDC and WAM committees to set. So this will go on to them. So recommendation is to move this forward as is.
Okay. Chair's recommendation on HB 1414 House Draft 1 is to pass unamended. 5 members present. Are there any reservations? Any no votes? Measure is adopted with 5 members present, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 2336 HD2 relating to the photo red light imaging detector systems program, which makes certain clarifications to the program as it's moving along. This one, we ultimately want to move it on, but I think in our discussion with DOT, we'd like to just work with them on some language on one of the provisions. So what we'll do is we'll defer this for decision-making until the end of our agenda on Thursday. That's this Thursday, the 17th. And then HB 1692 relating to mobile electronic devices, which changes the fines imposed for mobile electronic device violations. We'd like to move this forward with amendments, just adding the fines for violations in school zones to go into the Safe Routes to Schools pool of funding. Any discussion on this one? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on HB 1692 is to pass with amendments with 5 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes? Measure is adopted.
All right, thank you. Up next is HB 1681 HD2 relating to transportation network companies. This establishes the requirements and permitting procedures for TNCs operating in the state. We'd like to move this forward with amendments, just adding in a clean date of January 1, 2023. Any discussion on this? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on HB 1681, House Draft 2 is to pass with amendments with 5 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes? Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Moving on to HB 1403 HD1 relating to an alternate route site selection survey in Puna. I'd like to move this forward. Oh, excuse me, this requires DOT and County of Hawaii to do site surveys and try and locate an alternate route below Highway 130. We'd like to move this forward as is. Any discussion? If not, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation on HB 1403, House Draft 1 is to pass unamended with 5 members present. Any with reservations?
Reservation.
Okay. Any no votes? Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 2180 relating to harbors. This is just repealing the obsolete and unnecessary provisions, just housekeeping. So we'd like to move this on as is.
Chair's recommendation on HB 2180 is to pass unamended, 5 members present, any with reservations. Any no votes? Measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And finally, moving lastly to HB 2434 HD1 relating to water carriers. This requires each water carrier to file a strategic plan with the PUC every 5 years. We'd like to move this on as is.
Chair's recommendation on HB 2434, House Draft 1 is to pass unamended with 5 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes?
No vote for me.
Okay, measure is adopted, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of our agenda. We are adjourned.
Thank you.